Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Stand-Up. Without any further ado, let's get started. My name's Lee Henson, president and founder of AgileDad, and I really appreciate you being here. I wanted to touch base once again on an article that someone sent me and asked me to review. Now, this was an article that looks like it was published back in 2017, but was most recently updated in late 2019. And the article talks about an argument or a question. It's addressing a question. And a question that was asked was, what is the next step after Agile? What comes after Agile? So, Agile's only been around since about 1961 officially. So people are finally getting tired of it, it appears, and they want to know what comes next after Agile. Even if you look at the early trends in the 90s of when Agile really picked up steam, you would still say to yourself, things are changing so rapidly. What comes next? And someone tried to answer this. And this article was originally published by KnowledgeHut, and it just cracked me up. So I thought I would share with you what their assessment was and what my answer is. So their assessment, they said the next step after Agile is complete self-management. I know what you're thinking. Oh no, right? And their argument was that in many organizations, there's so many layers. There's CEOs and then junior CEOs and lead vice presidents and managers and this person and that there's too much hierarchy and it needs to be flattened, right? And we need this innovation to do away with this old school management way of thinking and flatten an organization. So that way Agile can go away and people can become a different, flat, organizational structure that can create their own conditions because no one tells them how to do it, man. They're not being held back. They're not being held down, They can seek decisions from their counterparts, and the feeling of unfairness goes away because the man's not holding you back. You can just do what you need to do and achieve true happiness and eternal bliss. And, it's just considered that if you're doing that old Agile stuff, man, it's just a piece in the puzzle. You're nothing more than like just another cog in the wheel, man. And you got to lighten up a little bit and understand. And oh my goodness, this article just drove me nuts. They're saying that organizations should find it easy to reach for self-management because they should look at their employees collectively with a certain specific image. And I love this image. Check this out. So the first part of the image, number one, employees are 100% trustworthy. That all employees, anyone who works for you is going to do the best job possible no matter what. And since they're trustworthy, we don't have to worry. We can just go ahead and press forward with whatever we're doing because they're going to give you 100% of their best all the time. Image number two is that collective intelligence is the new black. It's the new standard. It's the new norm that if I don't know, that I can lean on somebody else who knows. And, it kind of reminds me of the one kid in high school that I knew who could never remember the combination to his lock. So he got 3 or 4 of his friends each to remember a number. And if he forgot his combination, he'd have to track them down because through their collective intelligence, he could get into his locker. It's just so much overhead. I'm not arguing that you shouldn't have people that are T-shaped, and I'm not arguing that you shouldn't have cross-functional intelligence. Sure, all those things are great, but this idea that everyone will collectively have an equal intelligence is just really, really shocking and kind of mind-blowing to me. I thought it was kind of strange. The next image is that transparency is a must. Finally, something I agree with. But they went as far as to say that transparency within the organization based on individuals' performance and that you're kind of letting people talk about who the problem is and working it out. I'm still struggling with this. I'm bent. I'm torn because I think it's important to address when someone is a key element that's an issue, but I don't know that it's the team's responsibility to address it with each other that way. I'm a huge fan of transparency, but I think that, we need to find a better way to communicate and not let these lingering negative thoughts take over our minds and take over what we're trying to do. The last image that's required, they say, is distributed authority will make everyone adept and adapt. That's interesting. So distributed authority makes everyone adept, sure, because they have to be. But I don't understand how that piece of the puzzle, self-management as a big picture is just strange. You need to find an organization that it redefines the way leadership thinks. It redefines communication. It redefines strategy. It redefines change. It redefines the way they handle talent and performance management. It redefines the way that they treat their associates. It redefines the way that they allow for open communication. And in this great land of utopia where unicorns run free and people and rainbows or lead you to golden kettles. I mean, it's great to believe this utopia exists, but I still think that we have a long way to go before we get to a society that's going to lend itself to this. I think that, everyone here is hoping that, the traditional form of a pyramid-shaped organization with heavy hierarchy and power games to this new, progressive, interconnected organization. I love the idea. I don't say it's a bad idea. I just think, my goodness, that's a heavy lift and that's a heavy ask for most organizations. I'm finding organizations having a hard time doing a daily stand-up every day still, or having a proper retrospective. Asking them to make this kind of lift just, to me, is not a logical step in 2020. Especially now with the new adaptations that we have to make for the remote workforce that we have. COVID has done us a great favor. It's taught us that we all don't necessarily need to be in the same office face-to-face to build a complex product or system. I love that about it, right? But at the same time, it's also taught us that it's a lot harder to govern people. And that especially with people being remote, that we have to find new tools, new techniques, and new ways to stay connected so that we can make sure that we are confident that the team is working well together and that, leadership has a clear expectation of trust within their organization. But I don't know that right now is the time for us to start thinking about some of these other things. Of course, we need people who are trustworthy, who can work from home. Of course, we need collective intelligence and transparency. Those things all make sense. But my question is that really what the next thing in line is after Agile? Or is that just a version of Agile done correctly? To think that I've been teaching some of these principles since 2010 and, or earlier even, some of these from the very beginning. But it's just a matter of allowing people to understand what their roles and responsibilities are, allowing people to understand how they engage, allowing people to understand how to build a high-quality product or service, starting with a clear vision and strategy, allowing people to retrospect and introspect and find ways to self-improve and handle impediments and, all these other pieces. And I think that collectively, if we take care of all the small pieces and address each of the small pieces, what's going to wind up happening in the long run is we're going to end up with this clear business agility and no need to change because Agile's going to work in the end. And, I don't know that there's much beyond it, at this point at least. My hope is that one day we'll get to a land of pixie dust and unicorns, but I don't know that it's going to be today or within the next couple of years. I hope you enjoyed this edition, and once again, thanks for sending that article over. I enjoyed reviewing it for you. If you have any questions about this or any other topics, feel free to visit the AgileDad website where we're happy to address those. And if you have a topic that you want us to cover, this is your week, send those over to learnmore@agiledad.com. We'd love to cover your topic in an upcoming episode. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.